Welcome to New York number two sports show. The Yankees sweep the Washington Nationals at Yankee Stadium in pretty dominant fashion. Look, the Yankees have done very well against, more of the bottom of the barrel teams in this league. And the Nationals have the third worst record in Major League Baseball. The Nationals record now is 53-80. So that's a less than 400 winning percentage. Um, like the Yankees bread and butter, it's hitting home runs. And they hit 6 home runs in game 3. They have a 9-run third inning. Mostly positives in this series. It doesn't change my overall outlook of the team. Look, I've always pretty much been on the belief that they will make the playoffs, and I feel strongly about that, but what will they do in it? And it's great that they swept, and, we'll talk about the series coming up at the White Sox. You have to take advantage of this part of the schedule. But again, the real key for me, the real litmus test will be the 2 weeks after this week, where it's at Houston, home against Toronto, home against Detroit, and at Boston. That will really give me a better sense of what it will be. And it's not to say that if you do well in those series that you're going to translate it over to the postseason, and the other way around too. If you continue to lose those teams, it's not out of the question that you could, especially in a short series, find a way to win. But the Yankees hit a lot of home runs, and they're pretty good at home. And that's kind of a trend around baseball. I mean, I know that sounds kind of obvious, but I really do believe that this year, more than I can remember recently, where it's just very lopsided, where you look at these teams' records and it's very much slanted, you know, where they are better at home. The Yankees are 41-28 at home, 32-32 away from Yankee Stadium. And I think it's important, if nothing else, if the Yankees don't win the division, right now they are 4 games back of the Blue Jays, flat, although the Blue Jays do have the tiebreaker if they were to finish tied at the end of the season. Um, and the Yankees are tied flat with the Red Sox, although same thing. Red Sox have that tiebreaker over the Yankees based on head-to-head play. It's one of those things where I think it's important for the Yankees to, at worst, finish with that number 1 wild card spot and at least be able to host that best of 3 wild card series. I've been saying that a lot. Now, I think the most interesting question would be, like, if you asked me, would I rather go to Seattle or play home against Boston? That one is really tough. I might um it's such a shame. The Yankees have just been so bad against the Red Sox. I associate it much more with Fenway Park, but of course, like we just saw the Red Sox take 3-4 at Yankee Stadium this past weekend. So these are conversations that I think that we'll have, kind of on again, off again. But you kind of know the teams that you're dealing with right here. All that said, everything's so close that you just don't exactly know. Like, even the division, as poor as the Yankees have played at times, like, it's not out of the realm of possibility that they could find their way in that mix. So just wanted to give kind of more of a standings update, as I kind of hadn't done that last episode. We went really deep into the Red Sox series and everything that came out of that. But, it's not to say that there aren't some teams that are kind of trying the best they can to sneak their way in, like the Kansas City Royals, for example. But I think it's going to be difficult. I think that the 6 teams you see now in the playoffs in the American League will be the ones that stay there. It's just a matter of, where are they seating wise and who wins the division and whatnot. One transaction to speak of, and it involves pitching. Fernando Cruz did return. Fernando Cruz reinstated from the injured list. He was out 15-day IL, and pitched in game 2. Struggled a little bit, but also, like, he was fired up. It was crazy. He was really, really fired up, meme worthy. And the Yankees had sent down Yuri De Los Santos, who had thrown a lot of pitches the night before. He had probably thrown just shy of maybe 50, give or take. And so De Los Santos has options, so they sent him down. So Paul Blackburn's still on the roster. In essence, I would expect Ryan Yarbrough to take that spot. However, with it being September 1st soon, and you can add one hitter and one pitcher, like, the whole thing may kind of just solve itself out. To me, I would think that Blackburn still ends up the odd guy out, right? I still think that they would prefer a De Los Santos than a Blackburn, especially if you have Yarbrough, who provides length on the roster. But again, that'll be more of a conversation either after next episode or the following one, because that's around the time they'll make those decisions. But um, a lot of good. I mean, Yankee pitching, except for like some late game situations. I'm talking like ninth inning, just mop up stuff was really, really good against a poor national lineup. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves here. Um, there isn't a whole lot to speak of, and they did trade away, some players at the deadline, but um, you know, James Wood is a very, very young, promising player, but he's cooled down a bit from where he had been earlier. Although, actually, that's not a true statement. Looking at his splits, he's actually been good lately. But the point is that James Wood, he is a very good player and someone they're going to build around. CJ Abrams has a lot of potential, um, but it's an ugly looking lineup 1 through 9, and the Nationals had been getting decent starting pitching, but that really wasn't the case in this series against the Yankees. So Cam Schlittler took the man for the Yanks in game 1, coming off of a fantastic outing against the Rays. He followed that up with another good one. 2-2 now with the win. 6 innings, 4 hits, no runs, 3 walks, and 8 strikeouts for Schlittler. And he's lining himself up to really very much be in that conversation. If the Yankees are in a best of 3 wild card series, that, if there's a question as far as who that third starter could be, it could be Schlittler. And the case can be made for all three, Schlittler, Warren, or Heel. But I think right now, I know it's recency bias. I think Schlittler is very much going to play a big role in that. Um, for the Nationals, it was Brad Lord who got beat up pretty good. Loses to go to 4-7, 4 1/3 innings, 8 hits, 7 runs, 6 earned, 2 walks, and 5 strikeouts. Um, the 5th inning is really where the Yankees got it going in a big time way. As far as the lineup, and we'll try to talk about it within this game, but also the series as a whole. Like Giancarlo Stanton, who had an amazing game 2. We'll talk about that. He was the star again. He did not play in games 1 and 3. Luckily, they didn't need him. But Stanton has been out of this world good. As well, Austin Wells would be on the bench for game 1. And Caballero would start over Volpe for game 1, as they had said they would, but then Volpe started games 2 and 3, and we'll talk about that once we get to those games. And Jason Dominguez back in the lineup, who had not seen much action in that Red Sox series. But the Yanks start out strong. First inning, it would be a Cody Bellinger sac fly after a couple of walks and a pass ball. Rice and Judge with walks and a pass ball, and Bellinger gets the sac fly to give the Yankees a 1-0 lead. Bottom of the third, Ben Rice homers. He has been so dangerous. 21st homer for Rice. It's exciting what he can bring to the table. And if he can really develop into a decent catcher behind the plate, like, you really have something special there. He has been one of the definite highlights of this 2025 Yankee season. So Ben Rice homers to make it 2-0. You also get, which was nice, a caught stealing from Ben Rice, who was behind the plate in this one. A nice tag by Jazz Chisholm. It was actually a first and third situation, and Josh Bell doesn't have much speed. So in that case, it made sense to throw through, and that ended the 4th inning for Schlittler. Bottom of the 5th is where the Yankees break it open. Couple of singles to start by Caballero and Grisham. And then eventually Aaron Judge gets a ground rule double. And Judge homered in game 3. I still feel like he's off, but I'm hoping that somehow, like, the thing is, even when he's not great, he can still hit that home run. Like, that's just, what he's about. That all said, I'm very optimistic that there will be a stretch in September where if he stays healthy, where he will go crazy. I just don't know if we're there right yet, but it's possible. Again, really, because I thought game 3 was a much big, it was an improvement for him. But game 1, he gets the RBI ground roll double, which kind of just dunked in there and right and hopped into the stands. Makes it 3-0 Yanks. Then a 2-run single by Cody Bellinger makes it 5-0. So early on, Cody Bellinger with 3 pretty big RBIs, right? It kind of is going to get lost in the shuffle based on the home run stuff that eventually happens here. But Cody Bellinger with a really solid game, makes it 5-0 Yanks, and then Jazz Chisholm Jr. It's his 25th homer of the year, 7-0 Yankee lead. And Chisholm had hit 2 home runs the night before in that last Boston game. This is now a career high in home runs for Jazz, which he had last year. He had 24 combined with the Marlins and the Yankees. Now this year, 25. So Chisholm is definitely a home run hitter. I wish that it wasn't so much home run to nothing, but the numbers are definitely impressive. So 7-0 Yanks. That would be all for Brad Lord. He would be taken out of the game at that point. Schlittler gets through 6. Really good job by him. Yuri De Los Santos. They tried to get Yuri De Los Santos to finish out the game. Wasn't quite successful, but in the middle of this, Jason Dominguez gets off the schneid. He hits a 3-run homer, his 10th homer of the year, to give the Yanks a 10-0 lead. And I think that was big for Dominguez just because he hadn't done a whole lot lately. His playing time's kind of diminished, and it was a meaningless sort of situation. I mean, they were going to win the game anyway, but for him, hopefully that's something to work to build off of, and it gives the Yankees a 10-0 lead. Um, you have a defensive replacement where Ahmed Rosario comes in right field for Cody Bellinger in the 8th inning. And in the top of the ninth, 2 out, no one on. Yankees up 10-0. This ends up actually turning into a 10-5 game. You have a back-to-back singles, then back-to-back walks, which actually leads to a run scoring to make it 10-1. And at that point, De Los Santos is taken out. So they were trying to get him through 3 innings. They weren't able to do so. He ends up throwing 47 pitches and then subsequently sent down. We'll see him again. Again, for me, De Los Santos is a guy that doesn't belong in high leverage situations, but if you want to have him as one of your last guys out of the pen, fine. Mark Leiter Jr. comes on with the bases loaded and actually allows a grand slam to Jacob Young. Jacob Young's first home run of the season is a grand slam to make it 10-5, but then Leiter Jr. strikes out James Wood. It has not been a great, campaign for Leiter Jr., where I felt like at first I kind of like what I saw. The numbers are pretty ugly. And, you want to talk about people that are at the bottom of the barrel as far as the pecking order, Leiter Jr. that's where he is right now. And that's good enough depth, I suppose, but I know this was a meaningless, situation. I mean, they were going to win the game anyway, but still, I feel like, he has potential to be a lot better than he's been. So the Yankees win 10-5. And now we go to game 2. Game 2 is the one that I looked at when I saw the pitching matchup and said, okay, this one out of the 3 games would be the most challenging because Mackenzie Gore for the Nationals at times has been really dominant. Like, he's a strikeout pitcher, but he didn't have it. I mean, he wasn't bad. He limited damage in this game, but didn't have that dominant stuff. Wasn't very pitch efficient through 99 pitches in 5 innings and loses to go to 5-13. For the Yankees, it was Luis Gil, and he wins to go to 2-1. 5 innings, 5 hits, 1 run, 4 walks, and 5 strikeouts for Gil. He hasn't really been overly impressive since he's been back. There's been some good moments, but the good thing with Gil, it's kind of reminiscent of Rodon, where even when he's not pitching great, he's tough to hit. He's one of those guys that has really good opposing batting average against. Walks are always a problem for Gil, but I like to think that, with him, if he can start finding a little bit, that's where, he can work a little bit deeper into games and the numbers can start to, pop off the screen a bit. Because I think he has it within him to do it. Again, that all said, like, if the playoffs started now, I don't think that Luis Gil is going to have an overly big role, right? Like, I think he might be number 5 right now, if it ended right now. But again, you still got a month left of the season. In this lineup, Stanton's back in, Volpe's back in. Ben Rice comes out against the lefty, which again, that's going to happen. Maybe not always, but I'd say most of the time, Ben Rice won't play against lefties. Ahmed Rosario in the lineup for Ryan McMahon as well at third base against his former team, the Nationals. But this game is all about Giancarlo Stanton. Does it on his own. 5 RBIs for Stanton. Gets a 3-run double in the 3rd and a 451-foot bomb 2-run shot in the 6th. Like, he's batting .313 this year with a 1051 OPS. Like, that is insane. I understand the sample size is not drastic, but it's a lot at this point. Like, let's see. When did Giancarlo Stanton make his debut this season? June 16th. We are talking 2+ months, legitimately, where he basically has the best numbers in baseball. Like, it's just awesome to see, and I hope he stays healthy. This is like postseason Stanton doing it in the regular season. Um, so the Nationals one run is scored in the third inning, and a rare mental mistake by Cody Bellinger. You don't see it too often, but Cody basically kind of lets up a little bit on a first and second 1-out situation where CJ Abrams hits it to him on a line drive, and Robert Hassel III was held up by the third base coach, but he goes through the stop sign. And I think Bellinger was aware of this and didn't think that he would test it. And he goes through, and Bellinger kind of hemmed and hawed, and then he threw it into Rosario, who then threw it home, and by then he was late. So you don't normally see Bellinger's usually pretty dialed in and does the right thing. That was a rare instance where he didn't. Nationals take a 1-0 lead, but right away in that next inning, after Heel kind of gets out of that top of the third without any further damage, a 2-out rally for the Yanks. Paul Goldschmidt double, Judge walk, Bellinger walk, and really good at bats too against Mackenzie Gore. Long grinding at bats, and then Giancarlo Stanton with a full count almost hits a grand slam. It's a 3-run double for Giancarlo Stanton to give the Yankees a 3-1 lead, and that was really all. That was all they would need. He would be at it again, but there's just not another guy you want out there right now in a big spot. Stanton's the guy. Bellinger gets redemption in the 5th inning. Runner on second, 2 out. It's a single by Josh Bell to Bellinger. And James Wood is done that at home by a mile. This is just a bad job by the Nationals. Like, it wasn't even close, but for Bellinger, it must have felt good. He fired home, no hesitation. And that was Heel's last out of the game, too. So who knows? Like, that doesn't happen. The whole game could look different. Fernando Cruz pitched the 6th. This is where things got the most dicey, I would say. And a single, a hit by pitch, strikeout, bunt single, and then Fernando Cruz strikes out Jacob Young. So the stuff looked pretty nasty, but the command was a little bit off. We know that even when he's right, hit by pitches can be a thing, walks can be a thing, but he was pretty fired up. And I think Cruz is a very important part of this bullpen. I think if he can be effective, he may find himself in fairly high leverage situations. But Tim Hill is the one that cleans it up. Bases loaded, 2 out, and he gets James Wood to ground out. Tim Hill is just so solid in those situations where you just got to throw strikes. Again, it's the biggest shame that last year he was not in there in game 1 of the World Series against the Dodgers, but Tim Hill against lefties is nails. Even though he doesn't have strikeout stuff, he just induces soft contact, and he's able to get out of that inning. And then the bottom of the 6th, after a Bellinger single, Giancarlo Stanton, 17th homer of the year, 451 feet, no doubt about it, shot 5 RBIs in the night for Stanton. Gives the Yankees a 5-1 lead, and the good thing is they were able to take him out. They were able to get him out of there, in the 6th inning. So not that it, now, unfortunately, he didn't play the next day, but they won anyway. So, no harm, no foul. And Caballero would be the one that would come in for Stanton and right. 7th inning would be Tim Hill, a scoreless 7th. So he gets 4 outs. Clayton Beeter, actually, the former Yankee, traded for Ahmed Rosario in that trade at the deadline, pitched the 7th, and actually pitched a scoreless 7th. There was a steal by Jose Caballero, who now has 41 steals in the season, which is just ridiculous. 8th inning, Camilo Doval, one of his better outings in recent memory. 1-2-3 inning with a couple of strikeouts. And then in the top of the 9th, David Bednar. Non-safe situation. He gets a couple of strikeouts in a 1-2-3 inning as well. And the Yankees win the game 5-1. So they win the series. Now they're going for the sweep in what was a very lopsided in favor of the Yankees pitching matchup, which they ultimately do take advantage of. In what was really a laugher. We've seen games like this. I mean, this was even more of a laugher than game 1. Because that one, it didn't really break open to the 5th. This was the 3rd inning, a 9-run third for the Yankees. Again, Stanton was out. Who else was out of consequence? Paul Goldschmidt as well did not play. And that's a platoon situation between, against righties. It's going to be Wells catching, or it's going to be Goldschmidt at first. Let's talk about Anthony Volpe real quick. He goes 0 for 5 in game 3 after going, what was it in game 2? And there were some balls that were hit hard. I mean, but he went 0 for 4. He went 0 for 9 in the last couple of games, these starts in this series. So he's 1 for his last 37. It's just unfortunate. He's going to continue to be the regular shortstop, and the defense has been better lately. But the guy is batting 204 with a 662 OPS. Um, and the boos are not going away. The conversations are not going away. Like this is going to rear its ugly head unless he turns it around. I'm just not that confident that he will turn it around for long enough where you can feel okay about it. Like this is getting worse and worse. And I really hope that when push comes to shove, like that there's at least an openness that Anthony Volpe is not your starting shortstop. But knowing the Yankees, knowing how they operate, it's going to take a lot for that to happen. Anthony Volpe is going to be the starting shortstop for the foreseeable future, and that's just a shame. Max Fried gets the win. Really good outing for Fried. 14-5 on the season now. 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, and 6 strikeouts for Fried. And that's 2 good starts in a row now for him, which is nice. Obviously, he had struggled before that, so hopefully this is a sign of good things to come. He actually had a no-hitter through 5 innings for what it's worth. But, again, against the Nationals lineup, you kind of should be, having some success. But still, credit given. And then for the Nationals, it was Cade Cavalli, who was very bad. Loses to go to 1-1. 2 and a third innings, 8 hits, 8 runs, 7 earned, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts, and 4 home runs allowed. It was pretty ugly. Let's talk about it. And it's Trent Grisham with a leadoff home run. His 6th leadoff home run of the season, 26th home run overall for Trent. Just crazy. The fact that there's a very likely chance that he will hit 30 home runs this year is just a really amazing story, and shows last year it was just done incorrectly as far as Alex Verdugo getting all the reps and Trent Grisham just sitting there, not getting really much of an opportunity at all. So 1-0 Yankees. And the Yankees had a chance actually to blow it open the first. They didn't, but not even going to go there because the third inning is where it happens. 2-run homer for Judge. 41st homer of the year, makes it 3-0. Then Cody Bellinger homers his 25th homer of the year. So back-to-back shots right there. 4-0 Yanks. Then eventually a RBI grab roll double for Jason Dominguez. Scores Jazz Chisholm Jr. to make it 5-0. And then Ryan McMahon hits his first home run as a Yankee at Yankee Stadium. 3-run shot, his 18th home of the year. He's been struggling lately, Ryan McMahon. The numbers have been pretty ugly. The defense has been good, but hopefully this home run can show some sign of life. That bottom of the order has not been great. But that makes it 8-0. And, McMahon's a streaky player. Maybe this is the beginning of something, hopefully. And then they bring in a new pitcher, Cavalli out. Olga Suara, the lefty, comes in, and he didn't fare much better. Ben Rice, lefty, home run, 22nd homer of the year for Rice, makes it 9-0. And then eventually you get a bases loaded infield RBI single for Dominguez to make it 10-0. The funny thing is about this inning, 2 of the 3 outs were made by Anthony Volpe. Just, it's just one of those things. It's crazy. Even though everything is so good around him, he found a way to get 2 outs in a 9-run inning for the Yanks. Bottom of the 4th, more home runs. It's his buddy, Austin Wells, and he's had his struggles too. But Austin Wells, off the lefty, hits his 18th homer of the year, makes it 11-0 Yanks. Max Fried, like I said, lost that no-hitter at the start of the 6th. And in that inning, 3 straight singles. RBI single, C.J. Abrams, make it 11-1. What else do we have here? So Fried goes 7 strong, and then in the 8th, it's Paul Blackburn that comes in. So it was not, his only outing was not that embarrassment against the Red Sox. He got a second outing, but he did allow a home run. A scoreless 8th inning from Blackburn in the 8th. They did take out Trent Grisham and brought Jose Caballero in the game in the 8th. And in the top of the 9th, with 1 out to go, Andres Chaparro, the former Yankee farmhand, actually hits his first home run of the season. It's off of Blackburn. It makes it 11-2, and that's your final score. So 2 innings of work for Blackburn. Yankees get the sweep, improved to 73-60. And now let's look ahead to Yankees White Sox. A 4-game set in Chicago against a very bad White Sox team. However, let's talk about a couple of things. It's a 4-game set. Even if everything's rolling, it is not easy to sweep a 4-game series. Also, it's on the road. And we talked about that. The Yankees are not as good on the road. The White Sox are better at home. So this is very cut and dry. This is a series where I'm looking for the Yankees to win 3 out of 4. Anything less will feel bad. But I also think that anything better is a little bit unruly to just say, okay, you got to do that. They're very capable of doing that. But I think 3 or 4 is a very reasonable hope. Um, and we'll see what happens. But this is the type of team that you need to beat up on it. And the crazy thing is, August 28th will be the first time they play the White Sox all season. They have not played them yet. They have a home series with Chicago late in September. So 7 games with the White Sox out of the last 29 games. Look, you are kind of looking to go about 6-1 at worst, 5-2 in those 7 games against the White Sox. And that, of course, will help you work your way up the standings. So here are the pitching matchups. Will Warren looking to bounce back after a rough outing against Boston against Davis Martin, who has had a decent season, hasn't been great lately, but not terrible. Game 2 will be between Carlos Rodon and Yoendris Gomez. So the former Yankee Yoendris Gomez has been all right since landing with the White Sox and getting some starts. So we'll be interested to see him. I kind of thought that Gomez in his brief appearances at the major league level, definitely had some potential. Game 3 will be between Cam Schlittler and Shane Smith. Shane Smith was the White Sox all-star representative. He's had a very steady, solid season. And then game 4 will be the one matchup where the Yankees face a southpaw. It's veteran Martin Perez against Luis Gil. Now, Perez has been very good, kind of out of nowhere since he's been with the White Sox this year. So it's not as if, I could very well see the Yankees beating up on some of this pitching, but I don't know. In looking at it, I don't think it's going to be the crazy murderer's row stuff that we've seen maybe in one game. But I think that the White Sox have been pesky lately. They have not been horrible. But again, no excuses. This is the worst team in the American League. They're 40, as I'm recording this, they're 48-84. Really, really bad. Take 3 or 4 and, feel okay about yourselves going into kind of a gauntlet of a 2-week stretch, starting with a trip to Houston. So this begins a road trip, 4 in Chicago, 3 in Houston, and the Yankees will hit the road having come off of a very dominating sweep against the Washington Nationals.